That's me, as my character, Betty Suarez, here in New York City, the home of Ugly Betty. Now, believe it or not, even though New York is where our show takes place, it wasn't always shot here.
We should definitely talk about that.
After our first pilot episode, it was decided that we should film the rest of our series in Hollywood, the film and television capital of the world. So for the next 2 years, that's what we did at a place called Raleigh Studios.
So this is the Clinton building. This is where our writers live. The writers of this show, there's 11 of them.
Filming a television series in Hollywood definitely has its advantages, but for Ugly Betty, it always felt like something was missing, and that missing something was the city of New York. So one day, all the executives got together and decided it was time for Ugly Betty to make a move.
When the news came out that we were moving to New York, it was shock. It was, I think, for most of the cast, it was a great deal of excitement.
I got a call from Sylvia and myself.
I got a call from the producers.
They're either calling to fire me or to fire me.
All of them are on the phone. Do I still have a job?
He said, "Are you sitting down?"
Silvio came into the writer's room and closed the door.
Which never happens unless something very bad is about to be announced.
I had a phone call, we're coming back to New York. Silvio called me. I said, great, let's go.
I was in my apartment in LA, and I looked up at my husband and I said, the show's moving back to New York. I immediately, exploded out of my chair.
My feet went out from under me.
My jaw dropped.
And the next thing I did was call my wife. And then I said, "Are you sitting down?"
New York is such a great and important character in the world of Ugly Betty. It's a show that has wanted to be in New York for a long time. It'll be great to shoot the Suarez house, actually at the Suarez house. You know, for the first 2 seasons of the show, whenever we shot the exterior of the Suarez house, it was on the soundstage with green screen. You could only shoot in one direction. Whenever you shot backwards, you were doing composite shots.
I'm sorry I'm late. I know most of our conversations seem to start like that lately.
LA's got great downtown locations, and you can create a lot of New York City feel in downtown LA and the surrounding areas of LA. But there's nothing that captures Queens.
We had very little time to plan for this. The news came down to the crew about a week before we were at principal photography on season 2. So it was basically trying to put together and wrap an entire 3 stages worth of sets, costumes, set dressing props, get them in trucks and ship them across the country to be reassembled in 8 weeks' time.
What?
Wait, what?
Hardcore.
So right behind me here is stage 11. This is where we had our big mode set. All that's really left is the reception area where Amanda sits and the beginning of the tube. So here's what we've got left.
Oh my God.
This is the tube leading to Betty's desk and Daniel's office. You know, pretty iconic piece of the set. And this is what's left. This is where we have 4 of 11 trucks and lowboys full of sets that are being shipped off to New York City. There are trucks that sit low to the ground so that we can put scenery in them, and you know, they reach up to 13 feet. We have some drivers all ready to head from LA to New York, so they're gonna see the country. Ugly Betty is gonna see the United States.
But moving the entire production of a television show to the Big Apple was no piece of cake.
We had some transportation hiccups in LA. We had to ship stuff by rail, some stuff by truck.
Mother Nature was against us in Oklahoma. We had tornadoes, we had thunderstorms, and then we had the New York Department of Transportation, who actually rallied and helped us get our trucks through. Hi guys, welcome to New York City. What took you so long?
For all of us working on Ugly Betty, it was like a dream come true, coming back to where the show was born. Real New York streets, real New York people. Yep, this is definitely where Ugly Betty really belongs.
I have been wanting to come back to New York for over 20 years.
I was happy to move. I mean, I like New York City. I was born and raised in LA, so it was a nice change.
To come back to disgusting weather and the subways and people eating burritos sitting next to you while you ride around the city, that's much more normal, and I absolutely love it.
One of the challenges is they dropped us on us, 4 days before the completion of shooting, and then we just had to, kind of go.
By the time all of Mode got here across the country within that 8-week span, we were about 3 weeks out of filming. And there was no way to get Mode up and ready. And we had to shoot elements of 4 episodes in the first 3 weeks of production while the crew had enough time to finish Mode. And so we were out on location, we were jumping around, bouncing directors around, all to give us more time before we moved into Mode.
Wow, this is harder than I thought.
It's built like a regular office building, so we have to treat it like that, so we have to make sure that we air condition it properly because the amount of lights that we burn to light up everything creates a lot of heat and there's a lot of space.
The Mode set, which is the big 10,000 square foot set in Los Angeles that sat on a kind of big square stage. The stage we need to fit Mode into now is about 75 feet by 200 feet. So you're sort of in a bowling alley situation. And so although the set will appear similar, it's changed radically. So we've had to do a complete redesign, essentially retaining the spirit and the overall colors and line of the set, but shoehorn it into this completely different space.
So it's like, it's taking a puzzle, disassembling it, and putting it back together again differently, but so that the audience feels that they're still in Mode. This is Mode as it was built in Los Angeles. To work it out, we built it in the virtual world first. And there's the closet, here's the conference room, looking, from the conference table through into Betty's office, into Daniel's office. Here we are in Daniel's. In the new Mode, you can see the fact that now the tube and the conference room are in line with each other. And you can see how it's basically taking a lot of the same elements and then putting them together again in an entirely different pattern.
We got the conference room dead center. It gave us space out the sides. Walk and talks were expanded even longer now.
It was a bit more of a challenge than, I would have liked, but there it is. And, it seems to work all right.
Really?
Wait a minute. I've been on Mode many times, and I remember walking through it for the first time, and I got really lost. I was like, where's Betty's desk? Oh my God, where is everything?
I did get a little lost at first.
I am constantly getting lost. I still get lost on the set.
But it looks so amazing.
There was a minute where we all looked at the set and we loved it so much.
It's an unbelievable set. It allows creativity.
There's a lot more flexibility just making it seem like a real workplace and to help the actors get lost.
The beauty of working in New York is definitely the people, too. There's great actors here, great locations, but the people that live in New York, it's really funny the reaction we get.
People get really, really excited, and even if we're in the middle of the scene, they'll just start talking to us.
I remember at one point there was a tour bus, the open-top tour buses came by and people were going, "We love you, Ugly Betty!" And we were like, yay! So that was really nice. And I think that the city was very welcoming as well.
We so love being back in New York City. And I love standing here in front of this house on this block, seeing these faces that Betty was made for.
This story could only take place in New York City, and we're extraordinarily happy to have you back here with us.
Queens is great. I like it a lot. We love shooting here, and we've had a really warm reception, and it's great to be able to walk down the streets that Betty, would be walking down, and it's fun.
It's just really exciting. There's something really electric about being here. There's just an energy that is so uniquely New York, and you can't fake it. So we're really glad to have the real thing now.
My original intention for the show was really to make the city a character and use it, and we've made do in LA. We did a lot of CGI, but now we don't have to fake it anymore.
Daniel's got me doing nothing. So maybe Player magazine isn't quite what you expected, but neither was Mode when you started. You made that work.
I guess you're right. Oh, there it is. The next step in my plan, get an apartment in the city.
I wanted to finally show people where Queens is compared to New York, and one of the first shots is Betty you know, trying to explain to her dad about trying to get a new apartment, and it was a great shot. We're coming off the Chrysler Building, and you think you're in the city, and you dump down, and we're in Queens. And there's Betty, you know, chasing after her dad, and, you know, it's like, you know, trying to talk him into letting her, you know, get her own apartment.
Action. Look, you come back with all this talk about change and growing up, and it just makes you sound...
What? Makes me sound what?
a little naive.
Naive?
Yeah.
I really fought to get the shot because the cops didn't want us in the middle of the road and blah, blah, blah. And I said, this is why we're here. This is the reason we came here, was to put our characters, you know, against this backdrop. And if we can't do this, then why'd we ship everything out here? But I knew that by us coming to New York would open the show.
I think that the show is going to benefit greatly just visually, but I think the writers getting ideas about being in New York and the life in New York will come from real contact on an everyday basis.
The bi-coastal aspect was totally ideal because it's a New York City show. It shouldn't be in LA.
We have a lot of fun when we go for our episodes. It makes it a little harder when you don't have just quick access to set when you're shooting one of your episodes, but it's fun. It's been great.
It's kind of exhausting, but at the end of the day, you're in New York.
The show has more of a heart because it doesn't feel like it's fake. You know, it feels like it's really happening.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, as soon as we saw the first dailies of the first episode shot in New York, then we all sort of realized, you know what?
It just made it even bigger and
Yeah.
more beautiful, and
I didn't know if you wanted to see Betty walking down New York Street with yellow snow and garbage or something. Like, did you want to see that? But, you know.
we do.
Apparently, the world needs that.
That's outrageous. How can you say such a thing?
If you look at the opening show and you see Betty sitting in the cemetery above New York City, you can do green screen, but you can't get the energy. And I think it's taken the show up to a whole other level.
Right next door to our stages was a Calvary graveyard. For some reason, the family liked our show, so they let us come in. And again, it was trying to kind of show New York and Betty at the same time.
I personally think it gave the show a new breath of life in the third season.
It's really just added that extra oomph.
We're in.
It is the place where we should be.
Welcome to New York.
So that's the story of how Ugly Betty found its way back home, here to New York City. And even though it's been a lot of hard work, as you've been watching our third season on DVD, I think you'll agree it was definitely worth the effort. So from all of us at Ugly Betty, so long from New York City.